code completion is just perfect of Xamarin Studio. I'm going to be using my Mac here. And I have a tvOS project open here. I'm not going to do a lot here. I just wanted to, I'm just going to go straight into code. This is our native designer. So in the past, if you had some broken code, for example, here, and you forgot to finish your statement, our IDE would get confused, right? So if you try to get code completion here, it would be broken, right? Our parser was not able to recover from some of these situations. Now it's fully aware. It can recover. This is all Roslyn, right? So now I can go here and fix this code. So that is all thanks to Roslyn. Then the other thing that we've done, we've changed the coding style against my will to the Visual Studio style. Now, you'll notice a couple of things. You see that yellow squiggly there. That yellow squiggly says, hey, Roslyn is trying to tell you that you could probably improve this. And you can do that by right-clicking, or if you're an advanced developer, you can. There's a hotkey, Alt, dot. But you can just go here and go to refactor, and it just does that. So you simplify the code. Now, we have a lot of these. We have a lot of these improvements, and I'm going to show them to you. So these are the improvements that we have enabled in this particular solution for things that the IDE can do for you. Their warnings and their errors and their suggestions. And in particular, I want to show you that now we added support to warn you about problems with your iOS or Android applications. So not only will show you things like, hey, you can improve this catch. These are things that you can trigger from the and say refactor, add a null check for parameter. So that's one of the actions. So for Visual Studio, we have a little surprise for you. We show this at build. And this is the iOS simulator for Visual Studio. It is available today. So I know that you've been asking, you showed it, but where is it? Where are the bits, Lebowski? Well, the bits are here. So this is very useful. Essentially, when you're developing because we had already demoed this at build, we figured, how can we demo something new for Evolve? So we figured, why don't we demo the iPad Pro and showing the pressure on the pen? So as you know, the iPad Pro now supports pen pressure, and the Surface also supports pen pressure. So for example, here, if I draw with my finger, it will draw in red, so I can say hello, right? And if I draw with the pen, it will draw in gray, okay? But this is what is very nice. You can actually, if I press here, like that, it paints darker, right? You see that? You guys see that? No? Yeah, all right. And for those of you that follow the calligraphy Instagram account, you'll know that you're supposed to do the downstrokes are hard. Is it hard? Yes. The downstrokes are, no. The upstrokes are light and downstrokes hard. All right, so, OK, you get the idea. So that's the iOS simulator. We're very happy about that. Now, the other piece that we're doing to complete the picture is, many of you have your iPhone, and your development phone is also your personal phone. And instead of having to attach it to your MacBook Pro down there, what we're doing now is we're remoting the USB port from your Windows machine to the Mac. So as far as the Mac is concerned, when you plug your phone into your Surface or your Windows machine, it just has an extra USB port, so you can deploy directly from Windows to your machine attached to your Surface Book. And it will, you no longer have to deploy it to a separate machine. So all of this is part of our preview. Now, that's the IDE, Xamarin Studio, Visual Studio. Now let's switch gears. And there's a lot more. We just don't have time to cover it all. Now let's take a look at our APIs. We're adding a couple of very nice features to Xamarin Forms that you've been requested for a long time. And I'm going to focus on a few of these. The first one is we're adding native embedding APIs. So you've been using the Forms API to create your user experiences, but every once in a while, you need to create a native control and slap it into your app, right? And usually we tell you, go and build a custom renderer and put in your pickle and put some shared projects, some if statements here. It's kind of a, it's a little bit burdensome. So we've made it very simple. Now you can just add any UI view or any Android widget to your Forms UI by calling this method. So the add method takes a UI view on iOS, and it also takes a widget on Android. And you can just embed it. The other feature I wanted to talk to you about is we now support native deep linking. It's always been supported, but it's always been cumbersome. You've always had to do some platform-specific magic. You've always had to do a little bit of extra work. Now with Forms, you just override this method. And whenever a request comes to load a page, either because a friend sent you a URL or because you visited a website, now this will launch your native application. It will invoke this method, and we've conveniently left that with 3 dots. And the reason is there's many opinionated ways of handling that URL. So I didn't want to get into a war with you. I think you should use Prism, but anyways. This will handle your URL routing. And what that means is that if you go to a website, it will activate the proper page, right? So if you go to a speakers page, it will go directly to your speaker page, just the same way that you would build an ASP.NET app. And also, we've added APIs to populate the data store on iOS and Android so that as you browse the application, we populate the system index. So whenever the user tries to search something, it will show up on the results. So if you browse the calendar and you favorite a few things, it will show up also on your Siri Spotlight searches. Now, for the next feature, I want to invite my colleague and the amazing technical program manager, Nina, on stage to show you the next feature.
Thanks, Miguel. Hello, friends. Hi. Some of you have asked me what XAML stands for. XAML stands for Xamarin and Microsoft Love. That's what XAML stands for. Thank you. That's it. So some of my friends like to drink coffee out of those little pods, but I don't do that because I have taste. I like to drink fancy coffee. So we made an app that helps me keep track of all of the fancy coffee that I drink. Yay. And as you can see, we wrote this app's UI using XAML. Now, I love XAML. I think it's a really intuitive and familiar way to define your UI. But it still doesn't solve the biggest problem for me in Forms development, which is that I have to build and deploy my app every time I want to see it, right? So today, we are introducing a new experience for Xamarin Forms, because we know that the only thing better than writing your app's UI in XAML is seeing it right in front of you. Oh, you can keep clapping. Yep. I know. With an experience like this, it's no wonder that Microsoft is renaming XAML to Xamarin. Welcome to the Xamarin Forms previewer. This is what our app looks like on Android. And here it is on iOS. And oh yeah, I could use these zoom controls on the surface here, but I could also be a civilized person and use beautiful gesture zoom that we've built in for you. Yes, clap for the gesture zoom. Thank you. I think it's lovely. I love it. OK. So what if I wanted to change some colors, right? Because in the past, if I wanted to change a color, it would take forever. But now it updates instantaneously. And if I wanted to add some more interesting data into my app, I know, right? And I will make sure this looks good in landscape, which, of course, it does. Brings you this, also brings you support for custom controls in the Xamarin Android Designer. From our dev team to yours, you're welcome. Now, I love the idea of bringing the Internet of Things into my house. So I taped an Android tablet to my fridge. And as you can see, this app looks great on that. And for those of you on iOS, you'll be delighted to know that this app for the fridge iPad as well. Thank you. The Xamarin Forms Previewer is available today in the alpha channel, and it works with the latest version of Xamarin Forms. Have fun. Thank you.
Well, that was fantastic. You guys also said, why don't you put 3 lines of code and do that? It actually took a little bit longer, but the team did an amazing job, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So the last thing that I want to talk to you about is something that is very close to my heart, which is learning and teaching and exploring. So we showed this at Build. It's called Xamarin Workbooks. And this is a technology that we want you guys to use to become more effective and to be more productive in your day-to-day life. So let me get started here. So I'm going to do a demo of this technology now. So when you launch Workbooks, Workbooks is an evolution of our story to do interactive C# development. We've been fans of this technology for a very long time. And when you launch Workbooks on a Mac, you get a couple of platforms that we support. We support developing C# interactively against the Mac, against iOS, or against Android. If you do this on Windows, on the other hand, you get WPF, Android, iOS. And the interesting thing is that you can plug these into other project types. So if you have your own game engine, you can plug this in. Or if you have an ASP.NET application, you can plug this in. So let's create a workbook for iOS. And this is roughly the experience. You've probably used in the past interactive C# shell. So you will be familiar with this powerful expression. I can type an expression. It computes it. That's valid valid C# statement. I can say hello. And I want to show you something that is interesting. If I go back here, let me go back and assign this to a variable, sum. This will re-execute anything from that point on to the last location. So let's use a little bit of C#6 functionality here. So this is powered by Roslyn, so anything that you can do in Roslyn is available here. So you got code completion inside this. And if I run it again, oh, what happened here? We need this, OK? It executes. So what is interesting is that if I make any changes here, it would automatically update. So what we want to do with this is we want to make it very easy for you guys to try window. And you can see that you can native APIs here. you'll notice one thing. This might not look that exciting. When I created my map, I got this thing which looks like the two-string representation. That is not very useful. You can actually switch the data representation to this one, and you can examine all the properties. And you can see that the display is very rich, because when it displays the center coordinate, which has a latitude of 30, and maybe we should display it as with this notation instead, right? It shows a little preview in the UI. And you can see that the center is somewhere in the middle of the ocean, so that's why it's there. Now, these concepts exist for any other data type. So for example, let me do this, color.red. So when a value is rendered richly. In this particular case, it detected that it's a color, so it's rendering in ARGB mode. But you can change this, for example, to a CSS mode, or you can actually inspect what the UI color is made of in the same way. So what we want you guys to do with this is essentially, we publish a lot of APIs. There's a lot of APIs that are coming constantly from Android and iOS. And we don't want you to have to start a new project, put the API, recompile, redeploy, and come back, right? We want you guys to quickly experiment and be able to learn the APIs without doing anything else. And you can also declare classes here. So if you need to create a subclass of a UI table view, you can do it right here. Now, what is interesting about this is that at this point, you're thinking, well, I learned a valuable lesson here. You create the map, and then you add it to the view. Now, let me share this with a coworker. So I'm gonna annotate this. So I'm gonna write some text here. I'm gonna say, this is how you create the map view. And then let's add a comment here. I'm gonna click on this icon and say, and once you have your UI view, you can add it to your root view controller. This is all iOS stuff. And let's do a little bit formatting here. What would be nice here? Let's make that bold. All right. What is interesting about this is that when you save this file is going to be saved as a Markdown file. So everything that you see here is Markdown, and all we've done is annotated the pieces of C# code with the C# context. So when you load these Markdown files, we are able to execute it. And in fact, we're turning all of our documentation over to this system. So whenever you visit the Xamarin site, you'll be able to download the workbook and follow along the documentation with the actual code that you can try yourself and experiment with. So let's take a look at one of the workbooks that we have. This is a workbook that we have to learn how to use the Azure App Services. And in particular, here we have some data loaded from the conference application. And what we're going to do is this has already a NuGet. You can add packages here, right? So you can search here for Azure, for example. And you can add your package. It gets inserted into your app. We already have that one referenced in this particular case. And what I'm going to do is this class that I'm declaring here is represent some of the elements of the table from Azure. And then we're going to read. Very nice about this is that I can, you can download these workbooks and start experimenting without the trouble of, copy pasting this somewhere else and then seeing if it runs and the trouble that you have with that. Now, I am guessing that here it comes. So you see again the rich result that come down. It's a list. It knows that it's an enumerable, so it lists some of this, and I could continue enumerating here. But I also can drill down on these variables right into the UI. You can see that I have avatar URL, the name of the speaker, and then the avatar image, which is a UI image. So let's go and load these images. So I'm just going to execute this. Got to press, again, Shift Return, or just return at the end of the line. And this is going to iterate over all the employees and fetch the images from the web and put it into the employee variable. So now I guess his pull request was denied. And Anuj, we don't know what happened to Anuj. Anyways, one of the issues that we have here is clearly that the morale after telling them to do this demo last night is not very high. So what we're going to use is we're going to use Azure Cognitive Services API that was just announced at Build. And again, we already added the Nuget to this project. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to go here, and I'm going to try this API. So I'm going to say, go and recognize the emotion of the first employee. That was Chris. So I'm going to run this thing. And so let's take a look. What is the emotion of Chris? Well, anger, low contempt. And this is tricky. Remember, E minus 0.5, so very low disgust, very little fear. Happiness, not there. Kind of neutral. So let's just go ahead and run it through all the employees. So this is going, hitting Azure, building my account. So let's take a look at this now. So Chris, happiness level 0.002. Thank God. Aaron, 0.001. Oh, not good. All right. So what we're going to do is now we're going to put it in an iOS table view. And this is what I was talking about. You can very easily create a UI table view straight here. And this is just loaded into the table view right there. Now, one thing that I want to do is, I'm not an Tycoon guy. At my age, you need a bigger indicator. So I'm going to just declare here. I'm going to set the background color for each cell. So we're going to start with a clean background. So we're just going to go here and say, when the guy is angry, let's set the color to red. And then let's just set the background color to the color, right? So if I hit Shift Return, it changed live. Or I can just say name, Shift Return, live updates. So anyways, this is very exciting. Now, do you want to see another workbook, or should we move on? Yeah? Thank you, thank you. I was afraid you were gonna say, yeah, move on. So in the age of HoloLens, we're all gonna become 3D developers. Can we get this? Yeah. So in the age of HoloLens, we're all gonna become 3D developers, and what better time to start experimenting than using our cross-platform library? This library works across all platforms. So I'm gonna give you a quick show of how you do this thing. So again, all of these properties you can explore and expand, but I'm going to start here by just showing you a ball there, right? So we just create a node. It's a sphere. We're going to change the color to blue because that's the color of planet Earth. And we're going to make it a little bit larger, right? And actually, let's put a texture instead. So now that's starting to look like a planet. I'm going to repeat all those steps, but now for the moon. So now we have the moon. Same thing, just Shift Return. And let's animate those two guys, because everybody knows that that's how the moon works. And but I want you to see how easy it is to add these 3D properties. So in this era of VR and AR and things that you can do, you can put this on Android, iOS, or Windows. And I'm just going to finish this up by adding 3,600 satellites and a bunch of satellites here, one on top of Orlando. So if I run, I should be able to get it on time to go on top of Orlando. And there it is, on top of Orlando. And all of these workbooks will be available after the keynote for you to play with. And of course, the download should be available now. Don't go now. Wait.
All right, what do you guys think of all the new features in Xamarin Platform? We are really excited, and I also have to say I love Microsoft Cognitive Services. I think that shows kind of the power of the cloud, because building and using these kind of services on your own would be really challenging. So you've seen how powerful our tools can be for developing apps. And what I want to use the last part of the keynote here to do is to show you, to kind of put it all together and show you what it takes to actually build an app from scratch and then run it through the whole DevOps lifecycle that we mentioned before. And to do that, please welcome to the stage my friends Nish and James. Come on out, guys. Good to see you, James.
Hey, Matt.
Nish.
Hey, Matt, thanks.
All right.
Awesome. Woo, look at this. This is amazing. Oh, my goodness.
Pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
So these two guys are two of our best mobile app developers in the company. Pretty awesome.
Thank you.
And you may not know this, but James actually built the Xamarin Evolve app that many of you have already been using here at the conference. It's a great app.
What do you guys think? Pretty good? Yeah. Thank you, yeah. It was actually really fun to build. It's 100% with Xamarin Forms. Amazing native features. It's about 15,000 lines of code across iOS, Android, and Windows 10, desktop, and mobile. And you know how long it took me to build it?
Tell me.
5 weeks.
Whoa,
Just 5 weeks.
Wait, what?
5 weeks.
5 weeks?
Yeah.
I can build that in 5 minutes.
No, that doesn't.
I'm serious. So let me build this in 5 minutes, and you buy me a cup of chai.
I mean, all right. Well, if you can't build it in 5 minutes, you got to buy me one of those fancy Seattle pour-over coffees.
Awesome. That's done.
All right, what do you guys think? Can Nish do it? Let's give it a shot.
See.
All right, now, I believe in Nish. He's incredible. He can build the Evolve app in 5 minutes. But to help him out here, in case we run short on time, I'm going to slip in a wild card, which is a new feature we're introducing today in Xamarin Forms that we call data pages. The concept of data pages is that we've seen in hundreds of apps that our customers have built, people build a lot of user interfaces that are pretty similar. You grab a lot of tabular data from an endpoint in JSON format or from the cloud, and then you want to build a master detail view, right? You have a list of items, and you tap, and you see the details. So data pages allows you to grab data from Azure App Service tables or from JSON, and then automatically generates a native UI in Forms. What do you think, Nish? Will that help?
That's absolutely right. So data pages is my wildcard today. All right, so
Now,
James.
hold on.
Okay.
Now, when I built the Xamarin Evolve Commerce app, I did file new, blank content page, welcome to Xamarin Forms. Everybody knows that. So what's going on here? What are you starting with? Are you building the entire app? What are you building?
Well, this is exactly where we are going to start. It's a file new project. The only difference is I don't have a content page, which you will have seen a number of times with welcome to Xamarin Forms. Well, that's not there.
Okay.
It's all tab page right now, and I'm going to quickly add 2 tabs.
Okay.
Sessions and speakers. That's the most important.
Most
One.
important stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially my session later today at 5:30. Yep.
All right. All right, so let's get the sessions added out here. There you go. That's the list data page, brand new from the
Okay.
Data Pages API. Now, James, you would have worked with many data sources in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So we could do this with JSON. Well, that would be a mock data. It's best for debugging and testing. Well, I thought for this demo, it would be even cooler to build Azure.
You're going to do it live. Oh, my goodness.
Using your data sources, right?
All right. All
Ready?
right. I did put it all in Azure, so luckily enough for you.
All right, all right.
You're welcome.
All right, I take that.
You're welcome. But, yeah, so where is that data?
I'm going to add the speakers as well.
Speakers.
So let's run this. All right, James, I looked at your code, all right? The application looks amazing,
Thank you.
but your code.
Hey, easy, guys.
Hey,
Easy.
now.
Come on.
All right, so you had a content page, you had a list view, and you
Yeah.
had an item source, you had a data template.
That's what you do.
And then you had whole sort of layouts and everything to make this app.
makes a beautiful application.
All right, James. Now, what you see here is less than 30 lines of code. Oh, like actually 20 if you really look at.
All right.
All right, and
And where's the code behind?
there's no code.
Oh, my goodness.
All right,
All right.
prepare. So I just brought this up.
I do. I love
the
material
beautiful-
design, layers.
Yeah. Beautiful card view out there. Do you see that?
I see
now,
it.
why don't you go and swipe right?
Take a look around and I see
Right.
this will swipe.
Oh, that's speakers. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, it's nice different. How did that work?
Well, that's this style class out here, right here. Do you see that? There's events and contacts, which automatically does a beautiful job for you, looking at your data and then building a beautiful UI.
So these are the two data page styles that we're shipping now.
That's right.
But you can extend data pages with your own styles, and we're expecting to see many more in the future.
Yeah. So like, if
So why don't you go and tap Jason Smith there?
I love Jason. How does Xamarin?
Oh,
Forms?
look at
You guys
that.
Love him. Look at this. Oh yeah.
So this is a master detail page hooked on automatically.
All right, let me ask you guys a question, because it seems to me like the data you're pulling from Azure is just popping into the app here. It's kind of amazing, almost unbelievable. What if my data is not in the right format? Is there a way of handling that?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, Nat. We can do that. We can go and, OK, let me just quickly show you the table, right?
Oh, so
this is the
table.
Azure Easy Table data. So this is how it has been matched exactly. Now, we can go and change that too. I mean, this is something which you guys are very used to it. So I'm just going to add a few lines of code. Stop debugging. There you go. That's what it is. You go and customize the default item template, your regular stuff, data template, view cell, and just bind your appropriate models out there.
That's it.
That's it.
Pretty easy.
Yep.
Now, this is a pretty good-looking application. I love Android, love material design. Now, I didn't want to, give away too many secrets, but the reason maybe that it's looking so good is because I snuck up on stage ahead of time and installed a NuGet package for another new feature we're announcing today, which is Xamarin Forms themes, which is an entire way of theming any Xamarin Forms application with just a single line of XAML in your app, XAML. And actually, if you head over to there real quick in here.
James, I knew the secret before.
What?
Right? All right, let's go. I know where to do this. App.xaml, your resource dictionary. Let's go to the dark side. It's dark
So
theme.
with one line of code,
That's it.
the whole app rethemes?
Yes, absolutely. All right, James, you're an Android guy. Nat and I, we love iOS. We're going to look at this theme.
They want to clap, Nish.
All right. So we're going to look at this on iOS in the beautiful simulator. OK, that already deployed this. So there you go. That's the black theme, or the dark theme.
Awesome.
Perfect.
That's
awesome.
incredible.
I have to give it to you. I think I have lost this bet. I'll go buy you that.
Oh, that's a great idea. Let's go now.
All right.
Great job,
Thanks,
Nish. Thanks, James. See you guys. Data pages and themes are awesome. You can apply themes to any Xamarin Forms app. It doesn't have to use data pages, and we hope it's going to help you make apps that look great out of the box much more easily. Now, the next stage in DevOps is making sure that you can actually test your app, because before we ship it to 1,600 people here at the conference, we want to know that it's actually going to work on everyone's device. And so we have a new feature that I want to show you here today. And to do that, please welcome Jessica Stager. Jessica?
Thanks for that.
Hey, Jessica.
Hey. Great. So as you guys know, we have Xamarin UI Test, which is our testing framework for running automated tests on mobile apps. And as most of you guys learned in training the past couple days, you can write those tests in C# by hand, and that's great. But I'm really excited to present today Test Recorder for Visual Studio. So to start recording tests in Visual Studio, I click the new Test Recorder icon in my UI test file and hit Record New Test. I'm going to select the compiled app I want to test. And Visual Studio is going to launch this in my Visual Studio Android emulator.
Now, a lot of people, or maybe I should say some people, build unit tests in their apps, right? And so that helps you test the guts of your app, the libraries and network code and so on. But UI tests actually test the user interface and the way a user would use the app.
Is this a test net?
I think we passed. I don't know.
That's right. So this is a great way to test how users actually use your app. So as you can see here in my code, Test Recorder went ahead and created a new test for me. Since I'm using a Surface, I can actually use a touchscreen to interact with the app like I would on a mobile device. So if you watch my code here, and I click on the Speakers tab, You can see that test recorder auto-generated that code. I'm going to go ahead and continue working through the app. I'll click on my colleague, Jason Smith.
We're really picking on Jason today.
I know. Good-looking guy. I'll scroll down. Let's find his email here. I'm going to tap on it. And at this point, the test looks pretty good to me. I can go ahead and stop recording. I'll rename this test email Jason Smith. And my code's ready to commit to my source control. I can rerun this test on my devices here, or I can upload it to Test Cloud, where I can run it on the devices we have there.
Eliminated any excuse. So we've been on stage about 8 minutes now. And we have a test. The next step in DevOps is to build that in continuous integration, distribute the app, and then get it out to users. And so to help us see how we can do that with the entire combined Xamarin Microsoft stack, please welcome Donovan Brown. Donovan?
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, everyone. No, let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. Oh, perfect. I am so excited to be here and share with you the investments we're making in mobile DevOps. DevOps is the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. Now, we all know mobile has unique challenges. Device proliferation, development, testing, distribution, and monitoring are all unique when we work with mobile. But with the addition of Xamarin and Hockey App into the Microsoft family, we now have everything that you need. All you have to do is focus on writing the next hot app and leave the rest to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the app that you just saw us create. We're just going to rub a little DevOps on it. We're going to make it a little bit better. We're going to begin with continuous integration. So what continuous integration is going to enable, it's a practice where upon every check-in, we actually download, build, and test your application. So the test that we just checked in is going to be able to be run for us immediately. So what we're looking at now is actually a test summary or a build summary screen. The build summary is where we get a heads-up display of everything that we just built. Who built it, when it was built, the work items that they were working on, the files that they changed, and even the test results from Xamarin Test Cloud.
This is like home base for your whole mobile team. All the developers on your team, this is where they come, they see what they need to do, they see if the build's working, they say who's done what on the app.
Absolutely, because Visual Studio Team Services is everything that you need to turn an idea into a working piece of software. It's more than just continuous integration. It's your source control. It's your agile planning tools. It's your continuous integration and your continuous deployment all in one product. And what we're able to do here is actually surface that information here in our build summary. Now, obviously, a summary of your test is good, but there's times where you just need to go and get a little bit more detail. And the Xamarin Test Cloud is a great place to do that. We actually have a link here, but I've already opened it. And what we're looking at now is basically the Xamarin Test Cloud that allows us to see all of the tests that we've been executing against it. Now, what I want to be able to do here is actually drill into some of our test steps. So on the left-hand side, I have all of my test steps, and I have all my test cases. I think I have a better example here. And what I'm able to do, actually, this is not the better example that I wanted here. Here's the one I want. Sorry about that. So what we have here is the individual steps that I took during my test and a screenshot of every device as it was being tested. And as I click through, the actual screen updates. Now, if I want more information about a particular device, I simply click on it. From here, I get information about the memory usage, the CPU usage. I can download device logs and test logs. And if I needed to know even more about it, I can simply open up the device details. Now I know exactly what form factor I'm using, screen resolution, memory, the whole 9 yards. Now, these images are great, but a video would be much better because I would be able to then look at my animations, look at my timing, and make sure the app is working the way that I want it to. And over here, we actually have one of these playbacks already queued up. So now what I'm doing is I'm looking at an actual video of the device being tested.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to pause for applause here, guys. Let's go ahead and do this. This is exciting stuff. This is really, really powerful technology that we have here.
And I think, it's great that we have the test cloud functionality, but a lot of what's new and different here is we've really integrated tightly with VSTS.
Absolutely.
So as you make check-ins to your source control and you have CI running, your tests are running automatically and results are being pulled back into VSTS.
That is exactly what's more exciting, because a lot of us have seen this already, but we haven't seen it integrated as part of our CI platform. And what I'm going to do here real quick is jump back into Visual Studio Team Services. What you're looking at is the build definition that made all of this possible. All the developer has to do is make a change and check it in. The rest is all taken care of for you. It's a really simple task-based build system. You add tasks, you configure them, and we'll take care of the rest for you. You can build any language targeting any platform. We didn't mention this when we were talking about Test Cloud, but I did not have to write my application using Xamarin. I could have used Cordova. I could have written it in Java. If I'm brave enough, I could have done it in Objective-C. But
and in fact, we had at Build a few weeks ago, we were really proud to feature a couple of the amazing Test Cloud customers in the keynote, including Pinterest and Slack, who both use Test Cloud to make sure their apps work for all their many users.
Exactly.
Pretty awesome.
And it's truly cross-platform, because our build agent runs on Mac, it runs on Linux, and it runs on PC. So anywhere you want to go, we can get you there. Just remember, any language, any platform. This is not just .NET, this is not just mobile, this is for everyone. Now, one thing I want to point out is there's a task at the bottom. It's the Hockey App task. Hockey App is a really hot technology that allows you to download new versions of your application directly to your device, bypassing a store. So upon this task running, all of our users get notifications on their phones that there's a new version. They're able to look at release notes and instantly download that application directly to their device. Then Hockey App springs into life, starts collecting device information, user information, and user analytics that we can actually use to go back in and troubleshoot. One of my favorite features is crash analytics, because no matter how hard we test, no matter how hard we try, I sling a lot of code, and unfortunately, I write quite a few bugs as well. And they slip through the cracks, and they get out there. But Hockey App will tell me about the crash, where it happened, and even on which device. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump you over to the Hockey App dashboard, where I get to see all of the apps that Hockey App is managing for me. As you can see, I'm quite busy. When I'm not on stage, I'm slinging code. All right, so I write quite a few apps. But what it allows me to do is to focus on one particular app. Let's go and look at the actual Evolve app that we're running here today. It allows me to see how many users I have, how many versions of that I have in flight, how many times crashes. I wish I didn't have any, but unfortunately, we do. But what I like about Hockey App is the way that it groups that information for me so that I can easily find what's important to me and diagnose the problem. In addition to that, if I were to drill into one of these, I actually get to see the stack trace. And as you can see, this stack trace has actually been collapsed for me, so a lot of noise is out of my way. I get to focus on the stack trace that's important to me so that I can go back in and find a place I might want to put a breakpoint in my code.
And if you've used and loved Xamarin Insights, you'll be happy to know the Xamarin Insights and Hockey App teams are working together now, and we're bringing all of the great features and user experience of Xamarin Insights to Hockey App over time. This is the first step.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I think that's one example of why I am so excited about Xamarin, Hockey App, and Microsoft now being one. Because what we're able to do is just unprecedented. It's almost as if we went into the future, found this hot tech, and then brought it back with us so that we could use it today. And together, literally, the sky is the limit for us.
Now let's close the loop. We've got a
Sure.
crash here. Despite the tests, despite all our hard work, we have a crash that's occurring, it looks like, on only one device.
Yeah, it's something called a Motorola Moto G3.
Anybody have a Moto G3 in the audience?
I've actually never even seen one of these before.
You don't have a Moto?
And people give me a hard time for having a Windows phone.
All right. Well,
I don't
it's
even
a
know what this
challenging
is.
situation. This happens to people sometimes. Your app crashes or has a problem on a device you don't own. Well, there's lots of devices out there in the world, and so it's really challenging to have a device lab or a drawer in your desk with every possible device on it, and yet you've got to somehow debug and fix this problem. And so the way we're going to do that is through a new feature we're introducing today called Test Cloud Live. Thank you. Test Cloud Live is awesome. It allows you to use any device that's in the Test Cloud lab today to test and debug your app remotely. And we're going to show it to you.
Right. So remote debugging is the ability to attach to something remote. Normally when we're doing development, we're normally in here and we're doing something against an emulator or a simulator. But as you see here, I have this new cloud list. Now this is a device that I reserved in Xamarin Test Cloud so that I could actually attach to it and actually do a debugging session. So if I go over here and I go ahead and click on play, as you can see, I actually have this new device. And it's a real device who thinks it needs to be updated. So let's go ahead and skip that.
Let's not do that now.
And as you can see now, I can actually interact with it. I'm using a device that allows me to use my finger, so I can go to maps if I want to. I can scroll around the maps like I normally would. I can use two-finger gestures to kind of zoom in and zoom out. So I'm actually using a real device here. And I have access to it directly from the cloud. Now, there's more than just that device. If we were to go to the Xamarin Test Cloud, we can see tons of different devices that we have access to.
This is one of the challenges of mobile, is that there's so many form factors, so many devices, so many OEMs and operating system versions, and there's no way you can stock all of these. We have customers who say, hey, we're going into India, we need 20 Micromax devices. We're going into China, we need the OnePlus devices. And so we procure and maintain all of those for you.
Great. So what's happening is the code is actually being uploaded and installed on that device in the cloud. Then we're wiring up the remote debugger so that anything that I do in the application will then trigger the debugger to actually hit my particular breakpoint. Now, as we notice, this is taking a while to load, and this might be why we were having trouble with this particular
device. It's a slow device.
It's an old device. It's a slow device, and that might actually be why we need to have a specific device to be able to test it. Now, if I remember correctly, from the stack trace, if I click on this announcements here, the announcements seem to be the way or the place that would actually get me to my breakpoint.
And it looks like the app is frozen after you did that, so maybe is it crashing now?
That is because we're at a breakpoint, right? So the application is saying, hey, I'm not responding. It's, of course you're not responding. I'm sitting here at a breakpoint actually using the app. So this is going to change the way that we develop. We are literally changing the rules for mobile development and mobile DevOps. Again, the union of Microsoft, Xamarin, and Hockey App is just amazing. Well,
that's an announcement we're not making.
Exactly.
Today.
We're not making that announcement. That's a very good point. We integrate with everything. That's a good statement on that one.
That's right.
But what I want to do is I want to say thank you so much. I want to ask you one last question. Are you guys excited?
Right.
No. Let's try that again. Are you guys excited? Woo! Yes. I want to thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Donovan.
Yeah, I genuinely want to say welcome to Microsoft. We are so happy to
We're
have
happy
you
to
guys.
be here.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ben. Got some pretty excited new colleagues at Microsoft. That's pretty awesome. So you guys have seen a lot of new features, a lot of stuff we weren't even able to mention here that is now available for download. It's incredibly exciting. All of the details for how you get all of this stuff are available now on our blog, so please go to blog.xamarin.com. We're thrilled about the possibilities that we have now integrated with Microsoft to give you a complete end-to-end developer platform, and we hope you can see the potential. We just joined Microsoft a few weeks ago, and we're already starting to see the fruits of that. It's exciting. This end-to-end DevOps solution is a best practice that we want you all to have. You should go from code committed to green build to a new device on a new app on your device, on your testers' devices within a few minutes. You can all be there. It's an exciting place to be. And then when you introduce the cloud, I think the big takeaway here is you can unleash the power of amazing advanced APIs like cognitive services and the ability to scale. So this is our biggest and our best conference yet. We have some amazing sessions planned and a lot of fun in the Darwin Lounge. I hope you have a great time. Thank you very much.